everyone. We are going to be making Gua Bao. Now the fumes are going to be wafting up pork belly into, look at that. We're incorporated, so we're trying to leave this back in the bowl. It is definitely doubled in size. 15 balls, that should be good. And then put them on here, and then we just 3 tablespoons of sugar. So quite a bit of sugar, to be honest. Very exciting. Look at that. Let's assemble. Just like that. And there we have it. Welcome, everyone. We are going to be making Gua Bao, some traditional Taiwanese Gua Bao. We are going to be starting off with the meat because that's going to take the longest amount of time, and then we'll be moving on to making the kind of fluffy bao bun thing as well, and then we'll have some toppings that we're going to add to it to make it authentic to the Taiwanese Gua Bao. But without further ado, let's start bringing out some ingredients. The first and main ingredient we're going to need is pork belly. So we got here. We're also going to be needing some ginger, shallots, and some garlic cloves as well. This is going to be make up some of the aromatics for the kind of braised pork belly that we are going for. Next up, we have some spices. We have bay leaves, star anise, 1 cinnamon quill, 5 spice powder, and white pepper powder, or ground white pepper even. Our next set of ingredients are white sugar. We have soy sauce, and we also have some dark soy sauce as well. This is mainly for color of the braised pork belly, and then some Chinese cooking wine, as well as some water as well to kind of add liquid to the braising. But that's kind of our main, all our ingredients we're going to need for the pork belly. Next step is to prep our aromatics, so the ginger, the shallots, the garlic, as well as the pork belly. So we'll get started doing that, eh? And for anyone wondering, I do have a little kind of gripper to stop the chopping board from sliding. Very, very handy. Bought a roll of this kind of I don't know, like anti-slide or whatever. Perfect for the chopping board. Let's get started we'll start with the shallots. How about that? We'll start with the shallots. So we're just gonna be roughly chopping these shallots to add to the braised pork as part of the aromatics. So it doesn't have to be too fine. Obviously, the finer you go, the kind of more flavor profile, but I don't think it really matters for this one. But we'll do it like cubed. Slight, not super like quartered, but not super fine either. Kind of like that. Somewhat fine, but not going overboard. We don't need to be finely chopped. There we have our shallots. They are causing me to cry a little, so maybe I should have done these last. Now the fumes are gonna be wafting up in me, so that's a bit unfortunate. So let's go with ginger next. We are going to, this should be about 1/3 of a cup of shallots, roughly. I don't think it matters too close if you get that, but the next step is gonna be doing the ginger and garlic. The recipe says to mince them. I think I'm just gonna use the microplane and just kind of mince it that way. I think that works fine, should be okay. I want about 1 tablespoon of the ginger. So I think just that little knob should be 1 tablespoon worth, and then 3 tablespoons of the garlic. I think maybe 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, roughly around there. Get our microplane out. I find the best way to peel a garlic is just with a spoon. So that's what we're gonna be doing. Get our ginger, and I think we got 3 cloves here. This is a big chunky boy. I don't know if this is 1 or 2 garlic cloves, but this is huge. Like, look at that. It's one of the bigger garlic cloves I've seen in my lifetime. That is for sure. The cool thing with plants in nature, they all come in various different sizes. So you just kind of have to use a little bit of intuition, follow the recipe sort of closely. But I think 3 cloves should be enough. You can never have too much garlic as well, I think. At least when they're big, they're nice. They're not super fiddly, so that's good. So in the end, that big clove was actually 2 cloves of garlic put together. So we probably have a little bit more garlic than we actually need, but that's fine. That is totally fine. And then we'll just grate microplane these because it's probably the easiest way than trying to mince it myself. So we'll just do that. Easy peasy, really. Just gotta go at it. Some garlic that we are going to be grating as well, or microplaning or mincing or whatever you are doing. Whatever you are doing. So we've got our shallots here, and we've got our minced garlic and ginger all in this kind of amalgamation pile right here. And all this will just go in at the same time. So I'm just gonna transfer it all. I think maybe the shallots should go in first, but I'm lazy, and I think it's fine if you just chuck it all at once anyway. So we're just gonna chuck it all into a bowl, set it to a side until we'll need to kind of cook it out a little bit. So let's grab a bowl, and then we'll just chuck it all in here, ready for later. So generally when you're cooking with onions, you want to do onions first, let that kind of, because everything has different cooking times of where you want to get it at. So technically, probably the onions and the shallots first, and then I think maybe the ginger, and then garlic, or garlic then ginger. Garlic, if you cook it too much, will get a bit bitter, and that is not what you want. But I think for my purposes, chucking it all in one bowl is fine. They're all going to go in at the same time. That's what the recipe says. We'll just do that then. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And then next up, we'll just prep our pork. So we have a large pork, and we're just gonna cut it down to size, but we'll clean up some of this mess I've made and wipe down the chopping board, and then we'll move forward. We have our pork belly here. It's about 900 grams to a kilo-ish. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna be slicing it into about 1.5 to 2 centimeter slices. You can ask the butcher to do this. I didn't, I just got this big slab. Yeah, because I have a little bit of extra, which I'm gonna be making some crispy pork, but that's not for this video. So I slice it up into about 1.5 to 2 centimeter slices is what we're after. We've sliced up our pork belly into not very consistent slices, to be honest. They're a bit all over the place, but that's okay. Next step we're gonna do is I'm gonna try, and maybe I should have done this beforehand, I'm gonna remove the pork skin. With braised pork, it's not gonna get crispy or anything like that. It's just gonna be a extra kind of tough texture that I don't think we really need for this dish. I think you can leave it on as well, but I'm gonna try it without it and just take off the pork skin, and then maybe I'll try and make some crackling pieces with it or something like that. Who knows? We'll definitely use it because I hate wasting any food whatsoever. It's so expensive, so why waste any food that we don't need? So I'm gonna slice off the skins and keep as much of the fat on it as possible. This fat is good and tasty. That's what we're gonna be doing. Do our best. I might give up halfway through because it's too hard, but we'll see. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That was relatively simple, and I didn't cut off too much of the fat, so we'll see once I've sliced off all these pork skin pieces. Well, a little bit of hardwood, but it's not too bad. We've removed our pork belly, the skin from the pork belly. Some of them were a bit harder than others, and now we have some of our meat. I've separated it into 2 piles, so what we're gonna be doing is, with some of the more fatty bit, we're gonna be rendering the fat, and the fat is gonna be used to cook the shallots, the ginger, and all the spices, and all that. Instead of having to use oil, with that, we'll do that. We're not searing all the meat because it's, I think, unnecessary to do it. It will dry out the pork a bit more than it needs to. But some of them, we'll just render off the fat, and then once we have enough fat, about 1 to 2 tablespoons worth, enough to cook the shallots and the ginger, we'll take those out and do that. I think some other people would sear all the meat, and I think that's fine. I'm gonna try without it, see how it goes. In my head, it seems like it's not much point in doing it because we're going to be braising it, but whenever I do other stews and braise it, I do brown all the meats. I don't know, we'll try this way and see how it goes. Maybe there's a specific reason why you want to kind of seal the meat before you kind of stew it or braise it or anything like that. And if you do know that, maybe let me know, or maybe I'll do a bit of more research on why you should do that. Move this meat to the side and bring out an induction hob with our kind of pot that we're going to be cooking the shallots, the ginger, and then eventually going to be kind of stewing and braising this pork belly for when we need it. But yeah, we'll move things around a bit. All right, here we got our pot. Let's start heating it up, and we're just gonna render out some fat. That's all we're doing. That's all we are doing. So I don't actually know if you're meant to heat it up first and then put the meat in, or they're just kind of like put the meat in when it's cool to render it out. I don't know the best method, but we're just gonna chuck it in cold and see how that goes. That's all we really need to do. Just let it render out some fat. Easy. I think we've done enough with the rendering here. I don't want to overcook the pork. I actually added in all the pork skin as well because it has fat in it. So we're just going to chuck out all this pork. I think we got a good amount. And then we have our pork skin here as well to the side. And then we'll add in our aromatics. And hopefully I've rendered out enough fat, but we have a lot of that kind of pork fond at the bottom, which will be very cool. We want this on low heat as well. We want a low heat, including with the shallots, pork and ginger. We're going to be adding in some bay leaves. So 2 pieces of bay leaves. These are all kind of broken up, so I'll just that should be enough for that. We add in a couple of star anise. 1, 2, and 1 cinnamon whirl. And 1 cinnamon. We'll just do it at low heat, and we want to kind of make it a kind of sticky texture. We don't want to overcook the garlic or the ginger or anything like that. So just have it on nice and low and kind of saute that down. Da, 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 da. We're going to be going into its kind of brown and a bit sticky on the bottom of the pot. So when everything is browned up, and I might have added too much bay leaves because they're all kind of clumped up, but that's okay. So we've let it saute and brown a little bit, and we have it like, yeah, pretty brown there. So next we're going to be adding in the rest of the ingredients. So we're going to be adding in a 1/4 cup soy sauce. Wow. We're going to be adding a 1/4 cup of Chinese cooking wine, Shaoxing wine. Then we're going to be adding in about a tablespoon of dark soy for the color. We'll just do that. Then we're going to be adding in 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. Should probably figure it out, but you know, we'll just go by eye. That looks like around 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. Then we've got 1/2 teaspoon of 5 spice and 1/2 teaspoon of ground white pepper. So I'm just going to eyeball this as well. There we go. Might be a little bit more or a little bit less, who knows? I just do what feels right. And then 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper as well. And that's all the ingredients we're going to be needing for the kind of flavor profile that we're looking for. It smells good. It smells really good. Then we're going to be adding in all our pork, except for the pork skin that we have over here. All right, I'm just going to mix these around a little bit. So look at the color. Well, I'll give it a mix first, but man, look at that. That's pretty cool. And then we're going to be adding in 2 to 3 cups of water. So I think we just kind of want to cover the pork with the water. So, and once the water's in, we want to bring it to a boil. So it's all covered in the liquid. There we go, I think that should be good. So yeah, we just want to bring it to the boil, which who knows, hopefully shouldn't take too long. And once it's at a boil, we then put it to the lowest setting and we're going to simmer it for about 1.5 to 2 hours. And it'll be nice and tender and we'll have all the flavor that we put into it and it'll be amazing. It is now boiling. So we're going to transfer it to this burner over here, to the back here, get it out of the way, and we're going to let that simmer on the lowest setting for about 1.5 to 2 hours. So let's move this over. All right, so that's going back there. It has a very, very, very small flame, but that's fine. We want it pretty low and slow, and get it nice and soft and not super overcooked, but nice and tender. That is the aim of this. We'll see how it turns out at the end, but yeah, so we just let that go until we're ready for it. So I'm going to clean up here, and then next step we're going to be doing is making the dough for the buns. I think they're called different names. I think they might be called like lotus flower buns or something like that, like bao buns. But yeah, we're going to be making the dough that we're going to be putting the meat and a few other toppings as well into it. I'm going to clean this up and then we will get started with the dough because that's going to take a little while as well. It is time to make the dough. Like everything, we got to bring out our ingredients, and this dough is pretty easy to make. We're going to need a bit of sugar. We're going to need yeast, and we're going to need flour and a bit of water. And that's it. That's all we're going to need. Pretty easy. So we'll get a few different bowls, scales here, because whenever we're making dough or anything like that, got to be very proportionate and follow the recipe exactly to the grams and use everything grams. We're going to be adding in 350 grams of lukewarm water. All right, 323. We'll tip it a little bit out. 311. That's going to be close enough. So yeah, lukewarm water. Then we're going to be adding in to this lukewarm water 37.5 grams of sugar. It seems like a lot of sugar, but I'm following the recipe. We'll do 34. And then we want 9 grams of yeast. So there is 7 grams sachets. So like 1.5 of these sachets basically. Oh. I put it all in. I literally said only put 1.5 grams, and I'm just like, huh, chuck it all in. We'll see if we can just grab a little bit off. Ay. Oh, god damn. All right, and then we'll give this a mix, and we'll try and get the yeast to bloom a little. Well, this is instant yeast, so if you have active yeast, you need to let it bloom, but instant yeast, you don't need to technically, but we'll do it anyway. We'll give that a bit of a mix. Definitely smells yeasty. Who would have thought that yeast smells like yeast? We'll just leave that to the side. That is basically all the rest of the ingredients that we're going to need. And now we're going to be adding in 600 grams of flour. Just plain flour is fine. So that's the majority of this 1 kilo bag. 610. That is probably close enough. I don't think it will be that important. So there's our 600 grams of flour in there, bit much. We won't be needing any of these anymore, but we'll add the rest of this, add the water to our flour with all our sugar and yeast and all that, and then we'll just give it a starting stir with my spoon. One day I'll invest in a stand mixer, but that is not today. Not today. Try and incorporate as much as we can before we start using our fingers. Incorporate it, and now we're just going to knead it until we get a nice smooth dough. So roughly 10 minutes. You don't want to overwork the dough, but you do want it to have it all incorporated together. So we'll just do this till we get a nice smooth round dough. All right, I've been kneading it for a little while, and I think we got a nice kind of smooth dough right here. It seems pretty good, kind of smooth, well incorporated. So we're just gonna leave this back in the bowl. We're gonna put this lid on it, and then we're gonna just leave it in a nice warmish location. That's all we really need for it. And we're waiting for it to proof. So before we want it to be doubled in size, so that could take up to an hour, maybe an hour and a half or two, depending on the kind of ambient temperature of your place. So we'll just leave it in a kind of warmish spot so it proofs a little quicker, but we obviously don't want to cook it. Yeah, so see you when this has been finished proofing. So double in size, that is what we're aiming for. So see when it's doubled in size. We have let the bread proof for a little while, and as you can see, it is definitely doubled in size. So we'll just deflate it, punching it down. A little bit of just flour there just to help it stop sticking. And we'll get this out. Just aside, and we're gonna put this into about 60-gram pieces with our trusty, and we'll just get this damp cloth because we don't want it to dry out. So we'll just make it a little bit damp. Put this over here, I think. And we've got our dough scraper. Our pork is still going on the back burner. I think it should be basically done now, so I could probably take it off the heat. Give it like another 20 or so minutes. But what we're gonna do is we are going to divide this into about 60-gram pieces and then roll them into balls. So let's see how big this is. All right, so that's a bit too big. It's a little bit too big as well. A little bit too small. We'll roll into a bowl, and then we'll just put on this damp cloth, so we don't want it to dry out. And we'll just make as many balls as we can around that size. So this should make about 15 to 20 balls, but we'll count it when it's all done. So we have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 balls. I think some of them are a bit big, some of them are a bit small, but that is okay. So we won't be needing that anymore. Next thing we're going to do, so we have 15 balls, so we are going to just cut up some parchment paper or greaseproof paper, 15 squares of them. And that's what we're going to be using to kind of put these buns on into the steamer so they don't stick. Just a bit of preparation work that we need to be doing. We have our squares of parchment paper, which we're going to put the bao buns on, or the lotus buns, or I'm not sure what they're called. Just the kind of the bread, the dough. That's what we're going to put them on. And we need to get a sheet pan. So we'll go with this one. Start off with, I feel like we're going to be filling up 2 pans while we're doing this. We are going to be getting a rolling pin, and also we should get some oil as well. So the oil is for kind of, we're going to be rolling these out and then putting the oil in there and then flipping them over. So this is kind of to stop it sticking too much, the dough together. We should also get a towel so we can cover it up. We can avoid it drying out. And we'll make it just a bit damp as well. That should be good. I think we're basically ready to get going. Here we go. So we'll get our first dough ball. We'll use our rolling pin, and we might need some more flour on the thing. So we'll roll it out. Yeah, it's about that size, should do. And then we're just gonna oil the inside and flip them over and then put them on here. And then we'll just keep doing that. These should hopefully puff up a bit and whatnot and be quite big, but that's what we're doing. We're doing it for the rest of the dough, basically. Then we're basically ready to kind of cook it. Yeah, just roll it out, kind of like, sort of like a taco almost is how it's gonna be in the end step, but like that. Some oil in the middle. Then we want to fold it over, go parchment piece of paper, and that is it. That is literally going to be doing for the 13 rest of them. We'll do those. So we've made our 15 bao buns, as you can see there, and we've got the rest here. So another 8 here. I'm going to just see if I can squeeze another one in here. All right, so we've got 9 here and we've got 6 here. So with these 9, I'm going to be using this a little bit later. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you have glitter up, use glitter. I don't have any with me at the moment. Bit of an oversight. So I'm going to leave this damp towel on there and just use some alfoil and just chuck it into the fridge. Because otherwise, if we leave it out, it'll dry out and it'll proof a little too much when I use it. And you can store in the fridge for up to about 3 to 4 hours, apparently. We'll do that because I do want this dough to be used a little bit later, like that. And we'll put this wet damp towel over the rest of them as well. The ones we're going to be cooking almost straight away. So we'll leave that there. We'll chuck this in the fridge. Now we'll clean up a little bit and we'll let this proof for about 5 to 10 minutes. We'll just let it puff up a little bit more. So I'll clean up and then we'll make some of the filling bits. So we'll make this kind of roasted peanut, kind of sugary topping, as well as mustard greens, which is the kind of authentic way to have these Taiwanese Gua Bao. I think the pork has been going for about 2 hours now, so that's probably done. I had a check of it before, and I think I maybe sliced it too thin. Maybe it's meant to be more like 2-3 centimeters instead of 1.5 to 2, or maybe 3 to 4 even. But I'll turn it off now. We'll just let it soak in the braising liquid, but it's nice and tender from what I saw, so we'll go back to that when we can. So while we're waiting for the bao buns to just proof a little bit and rise a little bit, we're going to be making some of the filling. So it's going to be kind of this roasted peanut powder and some kind of cooked mustard greens. What we need is our peanuts, sugar for the kind of roasted powder, the peanut powder, and then our mustard greens. Roasted granulated peanuts, so that works well. And here's some roasted greens. I have a feeling this might not be enough for my occasion, but sometimes you can get them in like big bundles. If you have them in like the kind of whole state, just kind of, you want to cut them up finely. But we'll start with the roasted peanuts. So all we're gonna need is our peanuts and some sugar. We're also gonna need a food processor. Into our food processor, we're gonna be adding in half a cup of our roasted peanuts. Roasted but not salted is ideal, if you can find that. Like so. And 3 tablespoons of sugar. So quite a bit of sugar, to be honest. A bit more than I was expecting, but I think this Gua Bao will have like all your 4 different senses. You're gonna have your sugar, you're gonna have your umami, you're gonna have a bit of savory, bit of acidity, all that. And that's what all these parts combined will do. Then we're gonna need 3 tablespoons of sugar. So we go 1, 2, 3. And we'll just put that aside. And then we're just gonna mix it up until it's like a fine-ish powder with like a little bit of specks of peanut powder. And there you go, that's the consistency we're going for. So kind of like a powder, fine-ish, ones you could just kind of spoon onto the Gua Bao. So that's what we're after there. So I'll put this into a little kind of container of some kind, and that's ready to go for that. So we have our powder, our peanut roasted powder here, ready to go. And next up is we're just gonna cook our mustard greens a little. So we're gonna open this jar, and like I was mentioning before, you probably want to get like a whole mustard greens and then cut them up. Let's see, very quickly. So I'm just gonna give a little taste first. That's not too bad. All right, so our pickled mustard greens there. I'm gonna grab our pot. We're gonna just tip in, you can probably rinse out some of the water, but we'll just tip it all in. And we'll just get it cooking a little. And we're gonna add a bit of the pork fat from our braising liquid. So we're just gonna add a bit of pork fat just to give it a bit more flavor. So we're just gonna skim the top off of our liquid there. And you only want a couple of tablespoons just to help saute it out. Just to heat it up a little, saute it. So if you don't want to have pickled mustard greens, or it's hard to find, some other alternatives is basically any sort of pickled vegetable. That's gonna give you the kind of desired taste you want from this. You kind of want it to be like, yeah, that pickling, the acidity from that, and maybe a little bit of crunch as well from the actual vegetables. So that is that done. So we'll just leave this we'll just put it onto the countertop over there and we'll leave it there. So now we'll move this to the side. We're gonna grab our wok, and it's almost time to start. So we'll just let these proof a little longer, but it's almost time to cook our buns. So very exciting. So we got some water boiling over here, which is what we're gonna be using to steam buns. And we've let these buns proof for about 50 minutes. So they've risen to about 1.5 times the size they were before. So they look a little bit bigger here. So we're gonna put as many as we can. Hopefully we can fit all 6 in here. That would be good. And you wanna make sure it's only one layer. You do not wanna stack these. That might be common knowledge, but I might as well just say it anyway. It looks like we're only going to be getting 5 in, and that's kind of squished in. All right, so we're going to be getting 5 in this time, but that should be okay. We'll just cut some of the baking paper so they're kind of not going to, don't want to overcrowd it, but I want to put as much in as possible. So yeah, there we go. There's 5 bao buns, and we're just going to chuck it onto the steamer, and we are going to steam this for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes is done, you want to turn it off and then leave it in there for about 5-ish or so minutes. You don't want to kind of remove it from the heat and the steam too quickly, because then it would deflate, and you can't want these to be very puffy. So let's put our timer on for 10 minutes. So our timer is on for 10 minutes. Once that is done, we're going to turn off the heat, cut it completely, and then leave it just in the steamer for another 5 to 10 minutes, at least around that point, because you don't want to introduce cool air. That will immediately deflate the buns, and we want these to be nice and puffy and big. Yeah, we'll see you when the buns are cooked. So about 15 to 20 minutes. So we'll see you then, and it's time to eat. And I'm excited. I want to see how the dough went, how the pork belly tastes, and all the filling as well, and how this Taiwanese traditional Gua Bao tastes like. Well, at least how well I've done. I don't know what an authentic one tastes like because I haven't had it before, but you know, I'm just rambling now, but we'll see you in 20 minutes. We've cooked the buns. We've let it rest in the steam for about, I want to say 6 minutes, I think I did it, maybe about 7 minutes now. So let's have a look, shall we? Ooh, okay. Look at that. That looks pretty cool. Now that that's cooked, we are gonna try assembling it. So these are quite warm, But look at that, it just comes straight off. So that's what the oil's for. That's the importance of the oil. So it's a little bit fluffy. I wouldn't say it's super, super fluffy, but I think it has the texture I'm looking for. Let's assemble. Or I could let this cool down a little. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the best thing to do is, because it's still quite hot. And maybe that's how you want it. And I think you probably could eat this cold as well, or cooler. To assemble, we are gonna put in some of our mustard greens in here. The aim of this is to give it a bit of a crunch. Put a bit of a layer there. Then we're gonna have some pork. Oh, look at that, it just kind of falls apart. Does it fall apart too much? Not sure, not sure. So we'll add a few bits. See, it seems like it's fallen apart quite a bit. So we'll just add in a few different bits, like so. Now we add our roasted peanut powder. We'll put a bit of that on top like that. Maybe a bit more. And now we're gonna garnish it with a little bit of coriander. Just like that. And there we have it. That is our bao bun. Let's get a bit of a close up, shall we? If you have some red kind of peppers, you can chuck some of those in. We're just gonna leave it like this, I think. That's it, that's kind of the bao bun. Braised pork, pickled mustard greens, the roasted peanut powder, and a bit of coriander on top. That is a traditional gua bao. Let's give it a little bit of a taste test maybe, eh? Woohoo, let's go. There we have it, our bao bun. Look at that. Phenomenal. My hands are very unshaky though. That is Taiwanese Gua Bao. Time to taste Gua Bao. It's cooled down a little bit now, but yeah, look at that. So this is about 2, 3, 4 hours worth of work. Mainly waiting for like proofing and things to cook and stuff like that, but it takes a little while, but let's give it a taste test. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So the mustard greens does give a bit of crunch and a little bit of acidity, not too much. I could probably put a little bit more acidity. The braised pork is nice and soft, but still has a lot of texture to it, so that's really good. And the roasted peanut adds this kind of sweetness throughout it, kind of like addictive sweetness to it. As well as that peanut nutty flavor, and then the coriander as the garnish just add a little bit of freshness and greenery. Oh, let's go for another bite. And of course the bao bun as well. Soft, maybe it could be a little bit softer, but it does hit the spot for softness of kind of like a bao dumpling almost. But yeah, this is top tier. This is good stuff. Some of that saltiness from all the braising. Actually, maybe add a bit more sauce to it. Gonna add a bit more of kind of braising liquid sauce onto it. Yeah, you need add a bit more braising liquid with sauce to it as well. It does make it very juicy though. But yeah, that is gua bao. Phenomenal. So that's amazing. So you can add a lot of different things and variations to this. This is the kind of most traditional or authentic one that I've seen everywhere. But you can make some like pickled daikon and carrot instead of the pickled mustard greens. You can have a roasted pork with the crispy pork in it. The bun is just kind of a vessel to put whatever you really want in it. Kind of like a taco in that respect, or as I think Taiwanese often like to call it like their tradition, their burger. This is their burger. Almost finished this now. Getting to the end and seeing the finished product. It's amazing. I highly recommend you try this for yourself. It is a little bit labor intensive, but you got a lot of meat and buns. You can really get a few meals out of this, I think. And it's just so tasty as well. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Until the next video, peace out. And that is finish your Gua Bao Taiwanese buns.